Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Candy and I and Jacob just came off of Pun and Spun It, and guess what? Jacob and JB are going to Confidential. So, you want to talk about a sandwich between two shows? We are definitely it. Let me go over the crew real quick. Candy joining us again. Welcome back, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
And JB Ellis makes his Wednesday stop. Welcome back.
How's it going, guys?
Doing all right. And Jacob Christner, well, he's always on the doubleheader like JB. Welcome back, Jacob.
Triple header now.
Yeah, now triple header. Okay. And of course, Rick Curdy, well, he fit him in wherever he wants to come on. So that's that. So he's one of those guys that's called an MVP. And we talk about versatile, okay, there isn't anybody better than Rick Curdy. So I want to let everybody know what we do here on the Sports Exchange format now. As I talk about the sports town of the week, we go directly to parting shots and everybody gives their take on what's on their mind, and then we call it a wrap. So with that said, let's get to it. Okay. The sports town of the week for this week is St. Louis, Missouri. Okay. I want to go over some interesting things about St. Louis. Okay. Other than the fact that Red Fox, the Sanford son, used to go ahead and claim it was his hometown, for those of you who are old enough to understand that. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about the St. Louis Blues, 1967 to present. Didn't win a Stanley Cup recently. The St. Louis Cardinals of MLB, 1900 to present. All they did was win 11 World Series title, 19 NL pennants. Their all-time records, 11,131 against 10,232. What does that rate to percentage-wise? 521. Do I have good math? No, I just know how to read. Okay. Well, and they have the XFL St. Louis Battlehawks. Once upon a time, they had the St. Louis Cardinals before they moved over to Arizona, and the St. Louis Rams. Mark McGwire actually got traded there from the Oakland A's. Liked it so much, he ended up signing an extension there. And we know how well he produced, and that he enjoyed it so much he wanted to stay there. A.J. McCarron's another good story recently because he turned down $4 million to play for the St. Louis Battlehawks, led the team to 2 come-from-behind wins. And the XFL's better franchises actually happens to be the Battlehawks itself. Now, I should point out that Stan Kroenke owned the St. Louis Rams. And I know one thing, I do believe in my mind that St. Louis should get another NFL team.
You better believe it.
They really should. And he had plans to move it to L.A. all along. So the only thing I'll say on the comments here, the NFL needs to return back to St. Louis in the form of an expansion team, and they may need another stadium to do it. I don't know. But if you can build a soccer stadium for MLS, you need to get an NFL team back by coming up with enough funds to get an NFL team. I tell you, NFL will outdraw MLS all day long. With that said, I'll leave it off with Rick Curdy.
Well, St. Louis is a great place. I've had a layover there. Cardinal town, definitely. It's always going to be a Cardinal town, but they can support other professional sports. The Battlehawks, they or San Antonio will probably lead the XFL in attendance. I heard it's going to be sold out. A.J. McCarron's a great story. Sorry if you're not Alabama fans. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I like great stories. A.J. McCarron's a great story, and, of course, you got the Cardinals, the Blues. I remember when they had Brett Hall there. Amazing. Just won a Stanley Cup. But they definitely need to get an NFL team. They've been screwed twice by greedy owners. Kroenke wanted to go to Hollywood. And, they were successful in St. Louis with Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, won a Super Bowl, went to another one, lost to the Patriots. Some guy named Tom Brady that we didn't even know nothing about. So St. Louis is a great place. I hope they get an NFL team, or maybe someone could relocate there.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say before I turn over to Jacob Christner is that these old St. Louis Cardinals, that St. Louis did not make a real attempt to keep them, and therefore they went to Arizona. What happened with the Rams, they simply got hosed. So go ahead, Jacob.
Absolutely. JB and Rick may or may not know where I'm from. JB knows where I'm from. Quincy, Illinois. 2 hours south of St. Louis, South Central Illinois. I became a Cubs fan by hook or crook. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Bears fan forever. Wasn't a Cardinals fan. Wasn't a I was a Blues fan. I've been a Blues fan, but it's like I wasn't a Cardinals fan. I wasn't a Cardinals fan on that side, or a Rams fan later. I'm always a Bears fan. But the biggest thing about this is if I was to be able to set up a consortium, a group, any of that, to get a team, I'm only going to do it for one place, St. Louis. And I'm going to do, because I have known St. Louis all my life. First 20 years I lived in Quincy. I've been to St. Louis probably 45, 50 times. It's maybe a little more than that. It's an exceptional sports town. No matter what the issue is, it's an exceptional sports town. It's going to survive. It's going to be great with the Battlehawks. It's going to be great with the MLS team or the women's soccer team. It's going to be all that. And it's like it would be huge. What it needs, Kroenke's from Illinois, but it's like he wanted to go to Hollywood. What it needs, big time? It needs a lumber magnate or a construction magnate, true Midwesterner, farm guy, maybe, owns farmland. It needs someone that has a belief in the Midwest to keep it there and to keep it forever, and then make sure once he dies, to sell it off to somebody that wants the same thing, who doesn't want to give it to another Kroenke, don't want to give it to a Bidwell, who doesn't want to do all this. They want to keep it in those towns because towns like that need it. And so, yes, I am for St. Louis. And like I said, there's only one place I would ever try to put a team around, even if I didn't have the money and I tried to raise it, it'd be St. Louis.
Okay, JD.
Listen, St. Louis is a great sports town. They have a history of success with all their teams. Why they don't have a team. Obviously, if you can move your team to LA and have $1 billion stadium built, you're going to move to LA. But you can't blame Kroenke for that. But at this point, the NFL needs to look and see what they can do with the expansion. It never hurts to keep expanding. We keep expanding the schedule. Where we have more guys that can get into the league. The union will love it. More money that they can make with season tickets and a bunch of different things. And St. Louis would be a great city to add. The question is, where else would you add besides St. Louis? That's a bigger issue. But, St. Louis is a great sports town. I'm not the hugest fan of any of their teams, but, they're just hardworking, play well, and, great product.
Yeah, I think the only logical market that comes to mind if they get it right, and like Oakland, San Diego didn't get it right after a lot of years, and I think the Chargers' hand was forced at some point to move. And I know about those situations because I attended the Super Bowl, and this was addressed with the commissioner a few times, where some situations in stadium situations are just you can't do it. And San Diego had ample time to get their situation, and Oakland, well, that's another story. So. But there'll be another if there's another likely candidate. I definitely think St. Louis needs to get a team. Okay, the other one TBD. We'll have to see where that one goes. All right, Candy.
So St. Louis has always been a thorn in the Brewers' side. They're in the same division. They're 11-time World Series champions. The Blues, they won the Stanley Cup back in 2019. Now, the interesting side of it is the women's side. So St. Louis City SC, which is Major League Soccer, is actually owned. They were the first female majority-owned club in Major League Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
The St. Louis Surge, which is a professional women's basketball team, competes in the Global Women's Basketball Association. Over 10 seasons, the team has won 5 regional championships and 2 national championships. So they have success in St. Louis. It's a great town. Do I want to say that I wish the St. Louis Cardinals well? No, but they're a winning team, and hey, they know how to do it right.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, Candy, in 1982, the Cardinals beat the Brewers in the World Series. Something you probably didn't want me to mention, but we have to put it out there. And once upon a time, St. Louis was the home of the Hawks. Now moved to Atlanta. So,
One thing real fast I was going to say,
sure.
AJ McCarron, bringing that up, he did this for his kids.
Right.
And he did this for his kids so his kids could watch him play because they were watching all his highlights and he wanted them to see him play for real. And then that's very, very cool. But you know, there's something, if he wins something in St. Louis, even just gets to a playoff or any of that kind of stuff, they love you for life. They absolutely love you for life. And it's like, if they could find a way to get in the next couple of years, and he's still young, and they got to get a team in St. Louis, that the crowd would chant his name to be the main quarterback. They would do this. I've seen this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take it a step further as a compliment to St. Louis. If he goes out there and wins an XFL championship, they put a statue outside of that dome for all we know. I mean, you never know. I mean, that's the type of people they are. They're just warm Midwestern people. If you don't believe me, just ask Bob Gibson, just ask Stan Musial, and all the incredible people that have gone through that town as well. Once upon a time, Jim Hart played there, Dan Deerdorf, who I actually spent time with at the University of Michigan game against Alabama over in Orlando, and they had a great history. Their St. Louis Cardinals team wasn't bad. Conrad Dobler actually played there as well. So, to me, I love St. Louis as a sports town. I did have a chance to see the Blues take on the Red one time over at their newest arena. They changed names there, and I drove by a while back just to arrive by the old Checker Dome. So, like Wayne Gretzky even played there for a short time. Go ahead, Jacob.
My dad used to give me stories on he actually had met Jim Hart, and he used to get mixed up with Jim Ray Hart, different person. He used to say the name Jim Ray, but he actually met Jim Hart. But the said he could throw that ball a mile, which was all that kind of stuff. But he also used to bring up a guy named Thunder Thornton. And he'd say, and they'd all kind of make fun because he would have all of his yards early in the season, and then when he needed a yard or two, he'd get stuffed.
Well, I mean, let's face it. You know what? One of the reasons I'm doing this Sports Town segment is because I want to be able to talk about everyone out there, and I'm being very selective of the ones that I bring on. I'm sure we'll get to your market at some point, depending on where it is. But
absolutely,
last week Kansas City I thought was really, really good. And you know what? Whether people agree whether or not Kansas City should get an NHL team or not, we got a lot of reaction off of that. And I'm still going to stick my ground. I think Kansas City does deserve an NHL team. But, I understand where Quebec and Milwaukee factor into it at some point when and if the time comes that we talk about it. So, but anyways, this week's focus is on St. Louis, which does have an NHL team. No NBA. Sorry, NBA fans. No loss to you because the league has really gone downhill anyway. So you got NHL, you got MLB, and I do see the NFL in their not so distant future.
It should be St. Louis and San Diego as the two teams.
Yeah, I think so too. If San Diego gets it right on the stadium, I could definitely see them getting another chance.
You know what I'd love to see? Toronto and keep Buffalo there, put them in the AFC East.
Yeah, but the problem is I think you might run across territorial opposition there because they're 45 minutes away. And the Buffalo Bills actually used to play a game or so in Toronto, but I'd love to see Toronto get one because then you have a team there, but then you have the Canadian.
Be a good rivalry.
That's why there.
Well, they have a good one in the NHL. I think you're right on point, JB. I really, really do. But I think the territorial thing may be a little too much with Buffalo and then sacrificing a large market in CFL. But would I like to see it? Oh, you bet. All right, well, back to the way what we're going to be doing things from now on. Everybody gets a parting shot, and we all get to comment on it. And we will now go ahead and lead off with Rick Curdy.
Well, the Padres, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking. But, we're talking about Manny Machado, and he wanted this gargantuan years, all this money, and I thought, good luck finding that. Well, apparently he did with his team, the Padres. They're paying him like it was a 10, 11-year deal, 20, 30-year, I don't know, $350 million, bunch of guaranteed money. He's going to be 41 years old. And the thing that I don't understand is that he's got a no-trade clause. He's got no out option. So he's going to be there for the whole duration. I don't understand these contracts. They're dumb. He is not even close to worth all that money. I don't care if he's made out of gold. He ain't worth all that money. It's a joke, and I can't believe the Padres. I know you got a lot of money, San Diego, and I know you like to spend it, but you got to spend your money wisely. This is not wise to give all this money to Manny Machado.
Okay, Jacob.
Okay, they had the first grades from the players of the NFL teams. The first they would grade on the how they treat their families, the food, the training, all that stuff. One thing I noticed, Arizona, and I got to give a little bit of a shout against Arizona and New Orleans.
Well, wait, hold on, Jacob. I want you to comment on Manny Machado first, okay?
Oh,
because
okay.
What we're doing now under the new format, everybody gets to talk about everyone's parting shot. That's what.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Okay.
And then there's the as far as Manny Machado by itself, I did not get it at all. It's like he was 4 years in. It's 10 years out of 10 years. 4 years in out of 10 years, and he wants to opt out. Ends up getting 11 years and $350. Okay, it's $50 million more and one more, but the biggest thing about it I noticed is that I don't believe there's another opt out. So he's got to stick the whole thing through unless they ask for a trade. So smart business decision, quite possibly. But my question about it is, what is going to happen with the Ohtani deal? What's going to happen with Shohei Ohtani? And what do we do with this? And I mean, is he going to want to say? Is he going to complain about his pay thing if it's $600 million, $550 million, 600, 500? Is he going to complain about his own money if that? And especially when Ohtani really is about a 270 hitter. He does both, so you can understand. But he's about a 270 hitter. What is Machado going to do? And that's the real question about this. Can we trust this? Can we trust this contract? I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, JB.
Too many years, too much money. Typical MLB garbage where they sign these guys, they're stuck with them at the end of their career, and he'll request a trade at some point towards the end, and he'll end up playing somewhere and making, the Padres will pay some of the money for that contract and not have him on the team. Guarantee you by year 7 or 8 that'll happen. Manny is a good player. The Padres are spending a lot of money at the current moment with everything that they've done. I don't think they needed to do this. They could have let Manny walk. They're not winning the World Series this year. When it comes down to it, I look at it this way. You're either winning the World Series or the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup, or, you're trying to get to that point. And if you're trying to get to that point, this isn't the right move. If you have a shot to win, I still don't like it. I don't know. I think that they could have done better.
Andy?
I don't like it. I don't like the disparity of all the salaries in MLB. I think it's such a competitive difference that it makes a huge difference that your small market teams aren't going to be drawing because you're not going to have the same success unless you hit things out of the ballpark like Tampa Bay Rays. Like they've done a lot with a little bit. Unless you're really smart and can do that, this is just going to put too much disparity in the league. And they've already talked to the players union. Well, we're not going to do a salary cap. Well, you're going to have to do something or else you're not going to have as many fans watching because you're only going to want to see certain teams and not all the rest of them.
All right. The only thing I'll say about it is, Manny Machado, I'd like the name and phone number of your agent. I'll hire. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. We all know the back end of those contracts aren't very good anyway, but I need the name of Manny Machado's agent. Okay. And give it to me. Phone number, please send it to me. You can reach me at 954-304-4941.
Hey, Scott, he's trying to catch up with your money.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. I definitely got Rockefeller money. No.
There you go.
Probably the same agent as Daniel Jones, who wants $45 million a year.
I want everybody to know the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. So there you go. Okay. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers because God delays does not mean that God denies, but let's not deny it too long, okay? Want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And also, if you want to advertise, call 954-304-4941. That includes all advertisers and Manny Machado's agent. Okay, with that said, Jacob, now it's your turn for your parting shot.
Arizona and New Orleans. I got a bone to pick with you. Found it, they had these little NFL grades, for the first time that the players got to grade their own teams, everything like that. One of the things that they said, a couple of things pointed out. Arizona, if you are off season and you come to go work out, you have to. They're the only team in the league where you have to go pay for the food, and they have the worst food in the league. New Orleans, tied for the worst in the league with food. Now, here's what I have to say with something like this: these are ridiculously crazy athletes, the best of the best. And JB, wouldn't you say by yourself the first thing you want is the very best food for the very best athletes? Wouldn't you want that?
They're nickel and diamond. It's $1 billion business. You're going to charge your own guys for food?
Exactly. And it's not good food. And this is the thing that I have to say. It's like, this brings back to, say, the Colorado Rockies and the Tampa Bay Rays and all these teams that have not been good. You know what I'm saying? We'll just say the Orlando Magic, any of these. First place I want to go if I'm changing the team around. If I'm put in charge of changing the whole team around, first thing I want is a state-of-the-art gym, and I want the very best food for them. And it's like just the idea that you're nickel and diamond, like JB said. You're nickel and diming these people as $1 billion organization, not giving them the very best. It's why they're losing all the time. That's the first step of everything. Yeah, you can have all the training, but diet is huge. And they need to be called out on this. And that's what I'm saying there.
All right. Well, you know what? Before I turn it over to JB, I want to put a comment up here. In fact, JB, you have the responsibility to read this comment and give us your thoughts on what Jacob had to say. Go ahead.
So the Washington Commanders report and the Jaguars were both pretty damning also.
Okay.
So
now I take that down. That's Travis's comment. Now, why don't you add to what Jacob is talking about, please?
So, are you shocked? Think about the 4 teams that we're talking about and where they've been historically. The Arizona Cardinals have historically been bad. The New Orleans Saints, except for the Drew Brees, Sean Payton time, historically bad. The Jaguars, historically horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And the Commanders are a dumpster fire. So it's not shocking. I would love to look at all the reports. I'd have a chance to look at it and see where teams like the Giants and the Steelers, which are, very loyal, committed organizations to whatever they do, to see where they compare to those 4 teams. But I'm not shocked with the 4 teams that we're talking about being on that list, and the fact that you would even think to charge your players to eat to come into the facility. If I'm running a team, I want my guys in my facility. If they're there, I could see what they're doing. I could be on top of it. I can make sure that they stay healthy and they're ready to go once we get to practices, training camp. If they're just out on their own, I have no idea what's happening. If they get hurt, I have to wait and find out about it. They may not get the best care. Just seems ass backwards for me that they would want to do that.
All right, Candy.
Let's see. Where do I want to play? Do I want to go to a state that's going to charge me state income taxes? Do I want to go to a team where they're going to charge me for food? They're going to charge me to practice so I can be a better performer on the field for that team? That's ridiculous. That is just ridiculous. I'm going to pick somebody else, and that's why they're not getting the creme de la creme on their teams, and that's why they're going to continue to not be the winning teams.
Well, Travis Holmes' comment, full report, NFLPA.com, player team report cards. Thanks.
I'll be watching. I'll be looking at this for sure.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to having Travis on tomorrow's edition of Inside the Pigskin as well. He's a contributor as well. Well, the only thing I'll say about it is this, okay? Number one, I'm glad I got a new doctor today. He gave me the best diet on the planet. So I'm on a mission to lose 30 or 40 pounds. And he told me what I can eat versus what I can't eat. So, and he had a dietitian. He came from the Mayo Clinic. I couldn't have got set up with a better doctor than this. But give me a break. Go out there and shortchange the food situation. No. Okay. So I'll be curious to look at the team by team report cards. If you want them to eat healthy, pick up the tab. Otherwise, I'm going to really feel bad for you with all that revenue coming in and the reputation that will supersede by it. But hey, you know what? I got news for you. When it comes down to talking about food, okay, at NFL facilities, then I actually have to wonder a little bit myself that, we have to bring it up. Thank you very much, Jacob. Okay. But there's perception and reality. But you know what? I have to give a plug out to my doctor, Scott Beatty, because Beatty, that Scott will make sure this Scott is able to be equipped to be on all these broadcasts and outside of candy policing every stupid, crazy thing I do anyways. All right, JB. Now that I got that off my chest, give me your parting shot and we all comment.
Did Rick go?
I didn't go yet.
No, Scott's got to talk about Jacob's.
Yeah, Rick has to reply about Jacob's parting shot.
Well, no, I'll bring him on last because I'm going in order here.
Right.
I never went, though. I never thought.
Right, he never went.
I went, Candy went, you went. So Rick.
Oh, yeah, Rick didn't go.
All right, go ahead, Rick.
All right.
JB has to rethink this one a little bit, right, JB?
I'll make this nice and short. All those teams stink. Daniel Snyder's a crook. Why are we surprised? The Saints were the Aints. Jaguars, they've been horrible for a long time. I like to see where the Rams are in this and all these big market teams are. So, but not surprised because 4 of those teams are pretty much garbage. But I think the Jaguars are on the way up because they got Doug Peterson. But Shad Khan, you need to not charge your players the food. You guys are billionaires. I mean, it's stupid.
Okay. All right, JB, it's your turn.
So Jalen Carter today.
Well, no, I want you to comment on Jacob first.
No, he did.
He already did.
He did.
You did. Okay.
We all went.
All right. Okay. Well, my doctor didn't examine my head today, so it's okay.
He's some memory pills. Somebody give you some memory pills.
Well, don't worry. We're working on that too, so don't worry about it.
Candy, check his blood pressure.
All right, go ahead. Well, it was good actually today. 134/70 something. Okay, go ahead.
So Jalen Carter today received notice that he needs to go back to Georgia. Having 2 misdemeanors against him for street racing, where one of his teammates and somebody else had passed away. Reading tonight in Spun magazine, John Morant is being investigated for an altercation, I believe, in Washington, and rumor has it that he may have pulled a gun on somebody. This guy's one of the faces of the NBA right now, probably my favorite player. I get that when we're young, we do stupid things. Me and Jacob spoke about this earlier. Mm-hmm. We were all probably a few seconds from death when we were 20, 19, 18, 23, because you're dumb at that age. But at the same time, these guys have such great opportunity. And, just one wrong move, it's going to cost them millions of dollars. And obviously, in this case, 2 people's lives were cost because of bad decisions. Who's policing, these players, and who's responsible for making sure they stay out of trouble. I know if my son or daughter was going to be a top draft pick or a top player in a league, whoever his or her agent would be, that would be one of the jobs. Make sure you have somebody there to watch over him. Make sure you have somebody to make sure he or she doesn't make dumb decisions, because that's what kids do. We don't think. And the more privileged you are, that you're the best at something, people give you things, so you feel even more invincible. And it's just a shame, these 2 situations. Hopefully the jaw thing's not true. Unfortunately, the Georgia situation with Jalen Carter, people passed away. That can't be changed. And hopefully for his sake, it doesn't affect his football career. I'm sure it'll be on his mind the rest of his life, no matter what.
All right, one thing I want to mention from Travis Holman Travis Holmes is I want to make sure that we address this because this is important. Note that these players were surveyed after the 2022 season, so this is on the Urban Meyer Jaguars players. Jackson currently building a new team facilities to fix one of their biggest issues. Thanks, Travis. Setting the record straight. Okay, Candy, comment on JVs.
We were talking a little bit about this on Pundit's Pundit. We were talking about how there's a lack of respect and how kids these days don't have a respect. They're not taught to respect others. And until we respect others, we're gonna sideline ourselves. These athletes think they're, like you said, invincible and can do whatever. They don't think there's consequences to some of their actions. And they don't think about how things could affect their future. People are going out there on social media posting, I did this and I did that. Well, guess what? Jobs, they're looking at your social media accounts. They're going to look at that stuff and see what you're doing. So your actions are definitely going to have consequences.
Okay, I'll comment, then I'm going to turn over to Rick and Jacob, and then Candy gets her parting shot. Okay, number one, I'm sick and tired of all these entitled players earning so much money. Once upon a time, players had to work off-season jobs to make ends meet and do what they've got to do. You know, this is a story that doesn't leave us get away. I am just so sick and tired of everyone that I hear with these guys making a lot of money. That's all I have to say about it. All right, Rick.
Well, I mean, we talk about entitled athlete. We see this in society with young people. This is happening all the time. How many times have we turned on the news and you hear a 16, 17-year-old killing somebody, taking a gun to school? It's our world today. It's just violent. And a lot of these young people I don't know what's going on with them. Some of them are coming from broken homes. There's no families. I don't know what is going on anymore. No respect anymore. No discipline. I was, when I was young, my mistake was I might have spilled a drink on the rug and I got in trouble. Now they're like shooting each other. And this Jalen Ramsey guy, 2 people were killed because of this stupidity of racing cars. And we have a problem like that in Charlotte. These people are like racing cars 100 miles an hour, and it's just pathetic. And John Moran, I hope it's not true. I love him too, but I mean, this person that he pulled a gun, I was like a minor, and I was over like a pickup basketball game. I mean, who does that? You point a gun at, it's stupid. It's complete stupidity. And I hope Jalen Ramsey, I hope nobody drafts him, and I hope he killed 2 people.
Jalen Carter?
Yeah, Jalen Carter. Sorry. So
Okay.
if all this is true, he needs to go to prison for the rest of his life. Forget about the NFL. Just stay away from him. It's bad news. And, can you imagine what happens if he gets all this money and he's rich and famous? It's crazy. So,
Rick,
I wouldn't even touch them.
Quick question for you. I mean, you say, back in our day, we weren't like this. Do you think that that's really the case? Because I did some stupid things. But, I get the gun part, but you don't think we did some stupid things when we were 20, 21? I'm not saying it was right. Yeah. I think the difference now is this social media. We all have our phones and we record it. So that's the huge difference between growing up today as opposed to what we did. We didn't have that fear. If we did something, nobody saw it, we were good. Now, you do something stupid, everyone's got their phones out. It's on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, wherever. So I think it's just a different situation. It's
we were disciplined. I was disciplined. I was spanked. I got belts. I got and I wasn't abused. Now today it's called abuse. It's you're punished. I got spankings, and I learned never to do it again. Now today there is no discipline anymore in the home. There's nothing. All these kids are going out, 15, 16-year-olds hanging out at night, brandishing guns. Everybody wants to be a gangster or whatever they want to do. It's stupid. That's all it is. Just complete stupidity. And I do blame social media because it has ruined this country, social media, because everybody now wants to be a celebrity.
Okay. All right. We'll turn it over to Jacob.
Rick, you've become your grandpa.
I mean, I am.
No, understood. No. 16 years old, late 16 years old, I got my driver's license. Let me tell you what the things I did with my driver's license when I first did. I did my own. We had a bottom road in my town. I was I was literally like doing racing with people and that kind of thing down in the bottom roads. There isn't a lot of cars on that side because it was way down the bottoms. Oh yeah, I raced the train. I beat it by 3 feet, and we didn't have any of those little gates. Don't know why. We didn't have the gates there. So, of course, there's a thing. Of course, I'm going to go beat it. And I beat it by 3 feet. And I was playing my own Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah. And then there was a flooded levee, a near flooded levee that was like starting to get flood over. Of course, I'm playing, I'm doing, I'm basically turning wheels and all that kind of stuff around in that area with the wet and stuff, which I probably ruined the truck doing that even more. I did those things. I had a buddy with us, and he flips off the wrong, like the football team. And my buddy and I decide we're going to go save his butt. So we drive. And we drive and they're coming in a Cadillac, so we had to get way ahead of them. And, of course, I'm trying to make a turn. I try to make a turn to lose them into the camping ground, and I jump a curve, hit a stop sign. Destroy the whole thing. And I destroy 3 of the tires. You know, it's things like that. It's like, of course, no one was hurt on that kind of deal, and I was hyperventilating, thinking my dad's going to kill me. but see, I give all of that thought process. You know why I bring that up? Is because I think of Nick Hogan, Hulk Hogan's kid. They out of the midst of all of that, they've got a kid out there somewhere, one of his old friends, who is now a vegetable for the rest of his life because of stupid decisions. And you know what's keeping me from the stupid decisions, from being the vegetable or getting somebody else like that? I didn't have the horsepower. We didn't have the money, and I didn't have Hulk's horsepower and all that stuff, all those cars. That's the only difference. We do stupid things as kids. Jalen, this is going to cost him a ton. Ja Morant, he's the example of when you have a lot of size, he's a really big man. This is a big man professional athlete. When you have a lot of size, comes with a lot of responsibility. You have to know to use your violence be smart, and use it only to protect yourself and protect your others. Protect yourself, protect your girl, and make money. That's the only reason you never need to do that. You don't need to go off and try to be tough guy to everybody else. So you have to have your responsibility.
Okay. All right. Let's go over to Candy. Parting shot.
So my parting shot is a little different again, but kudos to Tyler Kolek and the Marquette Golden Eagles. Last night, they beat Butler 72-56 to clinch their first outright Big East championship. They now are ranked number 6 in the country. It is the first time that it's the highest ranking they've had since they were number 1 back in 1978. This is the first time they outright won a conference title since they did it for the Conference USA back in 2003. Kudos to them for being a team that hasn't done it. I hate all these one and dones always being at the top. So I like to see someone like Marquette getting their kudos and rising and being hot at the right time. They have won, let's see, what was it? They won their 5th game in a row and 10 out of 11 games. In the beginning, they were picked in the coaches poll to be 9th in their conference. And look at, they're winning. They won it. So kudos to them, and I hope they carry forward and do very well in the NC2A March Madness.
Okay, Rick.
It's a great story. I love to see these Cinderella teams. I get tired of hearing about Duke and the Tar Heels and Kansas. I'm so sick of Kentucky. Oh, my God. Every year they choke. Just so sick of these big-name schools. It's nice to see a Marquette. They've always been a big surprise team when they go to March Madness. They always do well, and I'm glad they're doing well. They defied the odds. Everyone thought they'd finish in last, and they won their conference. So congratulations to them. We'll see what happens when they go to March Madness. That's a whole different animal. But I hope they do very, very well. And I love to see a Cinderella team win the whole thing, not just make the Final Four and like that, to win the whole thing. And we'll see what happens with them.
Jacob.
Oh, Al McGuire's proud right now. He really is. You know, the biggest thing is this just shows you where the Big East is. Truthfully, is because you got to remember we're talking about Marquette winning it, and yet and remember who would be back in the day, Georgetown. You know, the big powerhouses, 7-22. 7-22 now. So Syracuse, Jim Boeheim. I'm just saying the people from the old days, what we remember. Jim Boeheim barely making through. You know, it's like they're not 7-22, but they struggle. They're just getting older. I'm saying these are the days. It's like life changes. These things change. Everybody, you know, it's like you got to wait. And we talk about this. We talked about the Duke and everything, Rick. You were talking about that. Duke was nothing before Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
They were the Cinderella at one time.
Yep.
There's never been a time where Kentucky's been a Cinderella. They've been the powerhouse the whole time we've known them. But Gonzaga was once a Cinderella. You know, for 25 years, they get around and everything like that. Marquette could easily get. It's just the world changes. The world changes, and it's like you never know if Marquette becomes that team that gets. You got to remember, for a minute, Butler had two straight finals. You just can't tell. So it's kind of fun to watch this time of the year.
Maybe.
So you're talking about Big East basketball. About 25 minutes from St. John's. Disgusting, horrible playing St. John's. Mike Anderson came in, was supposed to turn this around. He's done the same thing he usually does, and the same thing this team usually does. They go out and beat Connecticut a week and a half ago. Connecticut's ranked really high. And then they do nothing, you know, against other teams. Georgetown's in a funk. They're horrible. But still, the Big East is one of the best conferences in college basketball. And for Marquette to go out and win the regular season, great accomplishment. Proud of them. I hope that they, you know, do well in the Big East tournament coming up. And, you know, I want to see the Big East teams do well. It's always good to see them. And we don't talk about Syracuse. They're dead to me. We don't talk about West Virginia, Miami, Boston College. All those teams dead to me because you don't leave the Big East. The Big East leaves you.
All right. The only thing I'll say about this, when I get to my parting shot, hopefully you guys will have an opportunity to comment on it. You know, Jacob, you fell in the GMTA again. Great minds think alike, because I was thinking about Al McGuire too. I'm just glad that Al McGuire retired on top. And you know what? Shaka Smart, meet Al McGuire. I hope you do. I don't think you're going to retire on top, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the planet if Marquette wins a title and you can join Al McGuire in some elite company. All right, my parting shot is at the MLS, holding a double standard. Okay, number one, Charlotte FC. Their attendance was 69,345. Atlanta FC 67,538. Okay, and we know that Charlotte plays in a football stadium, Bank of America, and obviously so does Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the Seattle Sounders play in the Seahawks Stadium. The only thing I'm really upset about is the fact that Detroit has Ford Field and they're ready to do it, and they could do the same thing, but they didn't get a team because the league wanted a soccer-specific stadium on a jail site. Yet, you know, Detroit had a billionaire amount of owners that could be involved with Tom Gore's Ford family and Dan Gilbert. Go figure. You know what? MLS, in my opinion, everything should be on an even playing field. So if you think you can go out there and have Charlotte and Atlanta and Seattle, I think you should reconsider your situation about Detroit, because number one, once upon a time they had the Detroit Express at the Silver Dome. It worked out really, really well. And I know Ford Field is really equipped to do it. All right. But that said, I'm going to lead it off to the guys that are headed to Pundit Spun It. Okay, JB, go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean,
Pundit Confidential. You know what? You guys got me in the old sandwich mode here between your shows. Go ahead.
So Detroit's just not respected as a sports city from the MLS, which is a bad move. Detroit's a great city. You know, Detroit's it's middle America. You know, without Detroit, we don't have American cars. You know, it's a hardworking city. You know, MLS needs to respect that. You know, it can definitely support soccer team. They support the Lions, who unfortunately have been horrible for ages. You know, we were talking last night. Who was the biggest loser as far as a sports athlete on a team that just couldn't win? And we you know, someone brought up Barry Sanders. You know, had so much talent but just couldn't win because the guys around him. And then someone brought up Megatron. You know, another guy, so talented, but people around him. So Detroit could definitely, without a problem, have a team. It's just a bad look by the MLS.
Yeah, to go ahead and demand a jail site, okay, and a 20,000 seat stadium. Really? You already have one in place with Ford Field. What you do is you section off the upper bowl, and then you have it, and then down the road, a route can accommodate. So they need to really soften their stance on and make everything consistent across the board. They didn't do it in Detroit's case. All right, Jacob.
Oh, remember I was saying to you what I would say if I was to get myself a group of people to try to get a team, it'd be St. Louis. I said that earlier today. But the thing you got to get also is quote unquote respected. And it's like, in the end, it's money. In the end, it's business. Let's go back to another thing, Scott, from your era, from our era too. We could say at Dallas. Right. How many times did J.R. Ewing screw people? How many times did he keep getting the deal? Even though you had all those years and able to do it. Why? Charming.
Right.
And it's like, just like by itself, it's like, and I'm not saying they get it right away, but there's something along those lines that they don't have the right kind of people that's getting Detroit in there. And they're using the second, and you said it yourself, it is double standards.
Right.
And they use that type of thing. But the double standards use as an excuse for not having the right people to be able to speak, to be able to get the money, to get it out there. And that is well liked, that is respected, that is charming, that is all that. I don't know what it is with that, but that's basically what making deals is, and I hope that Detroit gets it one day.
Yeah, I just think the MLS they have a lot of work to do. I am really adamant about this topic about double standards. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay, Rick.
Yeah, well, I live in Charlotte. Their attendance is really great. Is great. You're right. They play at Bank of America where the Panthers play. So it sounds like you want them to build a stadium, but yet they play in a stadium that's shared with football, both them and Atlanta. So, like I said, I guess they just don't like Detroit. Maybe they're not fans. I don't know. Maybe they don't like the city. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. They should totally support it. We got the Lions, the Pistons. Both are not very good. Well, Lions look pretty good. Pistons, different story. So hopefully they'll get one. But look on the bright side, Scott. You got the Michigan Panthers in the United States Football League. So you got that. But hopefully, and I think they will eventually get it. Right now, why they don't, I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll make this comment before JB and Jacob have to go. When the Michigan Panthers were in the playoffs one year, their championship year, they put 60,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome. So that's what I have to say. Candy, you want to comment real quick? I know JB and Jacob have about a minute or so to go.
So you put an MLS team, Inter Miami, down here in Florida. They're averaging 12,821 fans a game. You can't tell me that in Detroit, where you're going to have a stadium that's already built, it has a dome over it, so you're guaranteed a game. We went to a number of MLS games last year for Inter Miami, and it was delayed because of lightning. Who wants to do that? How many fans are going to go sit there? And Detroit's waiting and wanting a MLS team. Shame on you, MLS.
One of the things I'm going to say real fast, here's what I have to wonder, just based off my point. Could Mike Ilitch, the original, have gotten it? Could he have brought that through?
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. For that matter, Roger Penske could be a part of it, too. He's involved in everything around Detroit. But that's a good question. It really is. So I'm going to release JB and Jacob over to Confidential, unless you have any closing thoughts.
No,
we got to go. We just found it.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much, JB and Jacob. Have a good show.
Good night, guys.
Well, okay, that leaves us. So everybody, Rick, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. We have a petition on there. Please sign it. We want to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. You can go on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram as Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. Also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. If you have any comments or questions, you can email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
All right, Candy, take over for both of us. You can read whatever we got at the bottom and then some.
So, if you want to catch any of my photography, any of Scott's writing, go over to southfloridatribune.com. If you want to listen to our shows, you can hear us on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. But most importantly, there's a red subscribe button in that lower right corner. Hit it. Hit subscribe. Share it. Like it. Share it with all your friends so all your friends can listen and be a part of this. If you'd like to be on a show, send us your ideas at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Maybe you'll be next on the show. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. Again, we're trying to strive for 1,000 subscribers. Will it be you? Okay, Scott.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. So, on behalf of Candy Ebling, Rick Curdy, Jacob Christner, JB Ellis, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Inside the Pigskin, and we will also have Fire Up. So, stay tuned. We'll post all the updates on social media. If you're a subscriber, you'll see it. If you're not, please subscribe. But we have a doubleheader tomorrow night. So, good evening, everybody, and we will catch you on next Wednesday's edition of the Sports Exchange. Good night now.
Good night.